The final scene isn't just chilling, it's a silent scream for what's coming next. The way the camera lingers, the way the lights flicker, and the way that last breath is held. It's not just about survival, it's a warning. Something bigger is about to unfold, and if you blinked, you missed the signs. Let's go back, slow it down, and uncover the hidden message buried in those last 5 minutes. Asterisk, the final scene of 28 years later drops us into a quiet, almost frozen environment. It's the kind of stillness that feels wrong, like the air is holding its breath. A single hallway stretches ahead, dimly lit, the echo of distant screams long gone. The camera doesn't rush. It moves slowly, carefully, watching every shadow and every step the characters take. The survivors, exhausted, broken, but alive, move through what looks like an underground safe zone. At first it feels like they've made it, but the way the scene is framed says otherwise. We see one character glance toward a blood-smeared wall. It's faint, almost like old rust, but it's not just background detail. If you look closely, you'll see something more: markings. Tally marks scratched. In numbers, a countdown, or a record of how many have fallen? It's never explained. That's the beauty of it. It leaves you unsettled, thinking, who made that? And where are they now? Then there's the sound, soft at first, like distant static or wind. But as the camera pushes forward, that sound becomes sharper, not screams exactly. More like breathing, controlled, inhuman. The tension rises not through action, but through restraint. We expect something to jump, to charge, to roar, but nothing does. Instead, a door creaks open at the end of the corridor. Bright white light pours in, and for 1 second, it feels like hope, but then comes the shift. Inside the room is not safety. It's a lab, cold, clinical, and full of signs of recent use. Monitors still glow. Needles, vials, test kits, everything abandoned in a hurry. On the center table, a blood sample marked with the date, today's date. That tiny detail tells us the virus isn't gone, it's being studied. It's being changed. Or worse, it's being made stronger. In the corner, a body lies strapped to a table. We never see the face. But we do see the eyes, wide, red, and staring. The rage is there, contained for now. But just as the character approaches to inspect, something changes. A sharp inhale, the body twitches, and then the camera cuts. Silence. But not just silence, purposeful silence. The type that leaves space for your imagination to run wild. The kind that directors use when they want the audience to feel something without showing it. And then the sound design delivers its final punch. A faint, echoing scream. Not close, distant, like it's coming from behind the walls or deep underground. That one sound flips the entire tone of the ending. It tells us we are not safe. The infection isn't over. It may have gone quiet, but it's waiting. And it's learning. The shot closes with a close-up on a reflection, perhaps in a broken monitor or a cracked piece of glass. We see one of the survivors looking back at themselves. But their reflection isn't the same. It's slightly off. A blink that doesn't match. A smirk that isn't there. A glitch? Or a sign of early infection? This ending doesn't answer everything. That's the point. It's made to leave questions. Who survives? Who changes? And most of all, what's coming in the next phase? Asterisk, a sequel doesn't always start with a new infection. Sometimes it starts with a lie. And in the final scene of 28 years later, there's a quiet suggestion that the biggest threat might not be the infected. It might be those who control the narrative. Hidden in plain sight are clues that this isn't the end. It's a reset. Clean slate for something worse. Look at the timeline. We know the virus first broke out in 28 days later, spread massively in 28 weeks later, and now it's been 28 years. But why 28 again? That number is no accident. It's not just a time marker, it's a cycle. Every time the calendar flips, something restarts. The number 28 becomes a symbol of evolution, like the virus itself is adapting to that rhythm. It's almost as if the virus waits. Now here's where things get dark. In the background of the final scene, there are hints of a larger global operation. We see screens in the lab with distant cities marked in red, some blinking, others marked as secured. A map of the Earth glows with data feeds. If you pause and zoom in, one of the monitors clearly flashes the word, "Transmission successful." But it never shows us what was transmitted or to who. This one word is enough to open the door to dozens of sequel theories. Did someone send the virus off-world? Is another continent already falling apart? Or has someone begun experimenting with a controlled outbreak, turning the rage virus into something new, something with direction? And what about the survivors? They're not just reacting anymore, they're adapting too. One of them carries a medical pouch with the tag IMMVX. That's not just a medical kit, it's immunization serum. So why does that person still look scared? Maybe the vaccine failed. Or maybe it worked and made them worse. Another major clue is the silence about world governments. We never hear about rescue, about armies, or even satellites watching from above. It's like humanity gave up or was forced to go underground. That kind of global silence doesn't mean peace. It means control. Someone has decided who gets to live, who gets to hide, and who gets left behind. It sets up a sequel not about chaos but about control, and let's not forget the brief shot of a child's drawing taped to the wall. It's innocent at first, just a sketch of a city and stick figures. But one figure is circled in red with the word safe written next to it. Above it, the word dad. Is it a message left behind? Or a clue that someone important is still alive? Someone connected to the original survivors? That's the genius of this ending. It plants seeds, the scream, the reflection, the lab, the data. All of it builds a trail that leads not to safety, but to the next outbreak. And maybe this time, the infected won't be the only monsters. This isn't just a sequel setup, it's a threat. The story isn't finished. It's just moved to a place we can't see, yet asterisks, sometimes the scariest parts of a movie, aren't loud, they're silent. They sit in the background, unnoticed, until you go back and realize what you saw was never random. The ending of 28 years later is full of these moments. They don't scream for attention, but once you catch them, they flip the meaning of the entire scene. Let's uncover those hidden clues, the ones almost no one is talking about. Start with the monitor glitch. It happens for less than a second just before the final scream echoes through the hallway. One of the computer screens, which was showing stable vitals and blood work data, suddenly flashes red. Not just any red, there's a diagram of a human brain pulsing, and the word cognition appears. It suggests something terrifying. The virus may no longer just cause rage, it might now enhance brain activity. This small blink changes everything. What if the infected are no longer mindless? Next, look at the reflection in the cracked lab mirror. Most people think it simply shows the survivor's face, but watch again. For a moment, it shows two sets of eyes. One is the main character. The other is someone or something standing behind, just out of frame. The figure is gone by the time the camera cuts. But if it wasn't a mistake, it means the survivor isn't alone. And that unseen presence, it's not breathing heavily. It's calm, watching. Another subtle clue appears in the sound design. As the final scene builds, we hear what sounds like a quiet hum, almost like electricity or machinery. But listen closely, it's not mechanical, it's rhythmic, like a chant or coded whisper. Sound engineers sometimes use layers to hide signals in audio. This one feels intentional. Could it be a signal being broadcast? Or is it the virus itself developing a new form of communication? There's also a marking on the wall most people ignore. Near the tunnel entrance, where light fades into shadow, someone has spray painted a phrase in Latin, Salus per ignum. It translates to salvation through fire. That one phrase could be the motto of a new resistance group, or worse, a cult born out of the virus era. It hints at a belief system that sees infection as evolution, not sickness. If that's the case, there may be people out there who want the virus to spread. And let's not skip the final frame where the screen goes black and text fades in. At first, it just looks like static. But if you brighten the screen and freeze it, you'll see a faint outline in the corner. A map, not of London, not even of the UK, it's global. Cities are marked, lines are drawn, and in the center of the map, a blinking signal coming from Antarctica. Why would a virus story point us toward the coldest, emptiest place on Earth? Unless someone went there to hide, or to start again. The virus surviving in sub-zero conditions opens the door to something no one is ready for, a mutation that thrives in places we thought were safe. All these clues don't scream, but they whisper something louder than any infected roar. They tell us the story we just watched isn't over. We didn't witness the end, we witnessed the transition. And it's what comes after that should truly scare us. The horror isn't just in the infected eyes or bloody hallways. It's in what this world says about us. 28 years later doesn't just end with a scream, it ends with a reflection. Not just of the characters, but of humanity itself. This isn't just a survival story. It's a mirror, and what we see staring back might be more terrifying than the virus. At its core, this final scene asks one big question. What happens when the world stops being afraid of infection and starts accepting it? The survivors in the last moments are no longer running in panic. They're calm, too calm. Some even look curious. That's not hope. That's transformation. The human race may not just be surviving the rage virus anymore, they might be adapting to it. Or worse, embracing it. Think about the themes we've followed across the entire trilogy. 28 days later showed panic and chaos. 28 weeks later showed the cost of control and containment. But now, 28 years later, the fear has become familiar. And when something terrifying becomes normal, the real horror begins. That final breath in the ending scene, that slow, intentional inhale, wasn't just fear. It was acceptance. The infected might not be monsters anymore. Maybe we are. And then there's the silence. So much silence. Characters walk past blood, destruction, even corpses without flinching. That numbness is the loudest message of all. It's about desensitization. How many tragedies does it take before we stop feeling them? When survival becomes routine, does morality fade? This world doesn't cry anymore. It doesn't scream for help. It just keeps going no matter who dies, who gets infected, or what humanity becomes along the way. There's also the idea of legacy. In one brief moment, we see a character holding a photo damaged, faded, with part of a face missing. It's symbolic. Not just of lost loved ones, but of lost identity. After decades of violence, infection, and survival, who are we now? Are we still people, or are we something new? Shaped by fear, hardened by time, and unable to look back? The ending also toys with the illusion of safety. That sterile lab, with its glowing lights and soft hum, feels clean, but that's the trick. It's a cage with velvet walls. The message is clear. In this world, the people who seem safest might be the most dangerous, because they've learned to live with the virus. They've built around it, and that means they've accepted it as part of life. Maybe they even worship it. That changes the rules for any sequel moving forward. Finally, there's the scream. Not the loud, guttural kind we heard in earlier films, but the soft one, distant, like it's being swallowed by walls. That scream isn't about pain. It's about the warning we ignored. The one that says, "You thought this was over? You thought you had control?" But the virus doesn't care about timelines or politics or hope. It just waits. It listens. And then it mutates. The meaning behind this ending is layered. It's not just horror, it's philosophy. It's fear of what we become when we forget how to care, when we adapt too well to a broken world, and when we stop asking, how do we fix this? And start whispering, how do we survive it? Even if it means losing who we are, that final moment isn't closure. It's a challenge. The question now is, how much of our humanity are we willing to lose before we realize the true infection wasn't the virus, but us? Asterisk.